illuminate my path in this hour of darkness. As the shadows of the abyss close in.
Hola desarrolladores, muchas gracias por este juego tan genial. Espero que entendáis al menos algo de lo que estoy intentando decir aquí. Y no hagáis caso a DSP, ese tipo no sabe de lo que habla. This is probably my first attempt ever to say something in Spanish. As expected, it wasn't very successful. However, while playing the demo, I labeled Crisol as a Spanish BioShock, and when I accidentally found out, as usually surprised as hell, the immediate release date, I immediately put it at the top of my list, because realistically speaking, I'll never see BioShock 4, let alone the movie. Judas is God knows where, so I have to satisfy my craving with similar indie titles. I have a few of them in reserve, and Crisol is one of them. The beginning wasn't ideal at all. I had an autosave from the demo version, so I was happy that they let me continue where I left off. I didn't get any further than this. So I started from the beginning, and the second line of dialogue in the intro played a good 10 seconds late. And as if that wasn't enough, some psychopath was running around with a bucket of yellow paint.
What is that? What the fuck is that?
At that moment, I didn't feel very confident and began to suspect another disappointment. Nevertheless, I found myself in the shoes of soldier Gabriel Escudero, who was given a simple task by his god the sun to enter the Temple of the Sea on the island of Tormentosa, clean it up and protect our beloved Hispania from evil. However, it looked like it was going to be a very short game because the first enemy... But according to the developers, Louis XIV was obviously a totally nice guy, because all I have to do is shout, "Give me your blood," and I'm immediately back in the world of the living. I'm not saying I completely understand how it all works, but I'm not going to argue. I get a second chance, I charge my weapons with my own blood from now on, and I can happily continue.
I didn't hear no bell.
Ano, Vana. Vidíte to sami. Úžasné. What is very inconvenient, however, is saving. There are no checkpoints on the highest difficulty, which doesn't bother me at all, but during the prologue you can't save anywhere, and I would rather not think about what would happen if I died somewhere or, God forbid, the game crashed. It's only during the first chapter that I'm lucky enough to find a crystal ball to save my progress. And that's not to mention that some players can't load the autosave at all, and as for the demo version, it's just best to delete the autosave altogether. I assume that by the time I finish this video, the developers will have fixed it. At the end of the prologue, the well-known main enemy Dolores is introduced, and even though this oversized monster was in the demo version and after all totally spammed in the promotional materials, I still have to admit that her arrival is very stylish.
No! Mother Dolores! I beg you! No! Forgive me! Please, no! No!
Better start enjoying watching you suffer.
Let it go! Keep shooting! I found him!
I was rescued from this mess by other fans of the Cult of the Sun, led by their commander Mediodia, and even though the girl is perhaps a little too outspoken right from the beginning, we have the same goal: stop the fanatics of the Cult of the Sea and restore the rule of the Sun. which lasted for thousands of years until some fools decided to free the great evil imprisoned somewhere underground on the island. Although, God and I assume every slightly little lucid player knows that it's not as black as white as it seems at the beginning. The bottom line, because Stone Cold said so, is that in 4 chapters I'm looking for daggers with the blood of their heirs of local families, so that we can lock up the sea and restore the sun. Most of the narration is done using, oh no, not again, walkie-talkies, although right off the bat bonus points, Gabriel speaks 1,000 times more normally than James.
Who the fuck are you talking about? What are you playing at, asshole?
And he actually presses the button to transmit.
Teda, to musel dát příšernou práci. Přitom taková blbost, co?
The second option is these memories materialized from blood, which not only expand the story, but can also sometimes be used to solve puzzles. And what shocked me, every character that appears even has their own name. That's unbelievable. I mean, it's not like we have to remember them or anything, but that someone took the trouble to give even the most insignificant loser a name. You mean like FireTight? I'm not saying I didn't expect it, but it still scared me. At first glance, Crisol may look like an open-world game, but don't be fooled, there is only one prepared path, because all other turns are carefully locked by the authors until you find the right item, such as the beloved chain pliers, and you can forget about them. Of course, there are smaller detours which usually hide bonus items, but don't expect to be able to freely decide to go in the opposite direction of what the authors want. That's not how this game works. Sadly, it sometimes seems ridiculous. For example, when I have to find 2 admirals in the 3rd chapter, the path leads left or right. But I still can't choose because the left path is blocked by something I'll obviously find in the right path. Oh well. When you meet the merchant, you can't help but remember Resident Evil 4 and feel an unpleasant chill down your spine because the guy is obviously French. Coucou mon cœur. Ah oui, coucou mon chéri, j'arrive tout de suite. Putain de merde, au secours, quel cas, je ne veux pas parler avec lui. Ses pieds sont de mauvaises.
Come closer, little Robin. I don't bite.
His crystal ball saves the game, upgrades weapons or adds special abilities from the money found. That's what this wheel is for. At first I was surprised that there were so few of them, and I have a bad feeling that I won't be using the vast majority of them. For example, those for knife fighting, which can be even used to block, as I last noticed during the tutorial. Of course, it's only a matter of time before Zero or Angsty Tony do a knife only run, but until then, I have a revolver, so why bother, right? The only truly 100% usable skill is Codulated Bullet, which sometimes gives you a chance that the fired bullet won't be deducted from the magazine. Plus, even though I'm playing on the highest difficulty, it feels more like a walk in the park. It's really not a difficult game, usually 1 or 2 enemies jump on me at a time, so taking them out is no problem. Even with my aim. But to be fair, I was a little nervous at one point here in this cellar, also because I started rushing and didn't finish off all the enemies, which doubled my problems when I returned. Still, it was first try.
Nothing serious.
And yet, basically around every corner I found an injection or a consumable corpse that replenishes my health. I can even devour dead people, which Gabriel resisted as much as he could at first. But as soon as the sun and the voices went, "Boo, you have to do this," he didn't care anymore and devoured left and right, probably even his own mother.
The chain came loose.
But speaking of enemies, these dolls are genius, and I mean it. Theoretically there are several different types, which can you mainly distinguish by their heads, but it's probably a bit of shame that there aren't more clearly different variants. You can shut off individual body parts, and when you get rid of the hand holding the weapon and think you've solved the problem, those assholes grab it with their other hand and keep going. I even managed to cut one in half with a shotgun, and to my shock both of them came at me together. Shooting off the limbs is, by the way, the most complex thing you'll ever experience in terms of gameplay. Okay, there's the blood equals ammo mechanic, but I never got into a situation where it was a problem for me or where I had to strategize in any way because of it. The AI also has an obvious problem with doors, because as soon as you run away to another room, they just turn around and leave. It's up to you how often you exploit this. Throughout the campaign I also wondered if their presence would be explained in any way, other than the fact there was a giant doll factory here and nothing. So, I don't know.
Back to the city.
Ah, I know this place. So it was clear to me that Dolores was lurking somewhere around the corner, and unlike in the demo, I had no problems with her this time. From now on, however, she ambushes me in every slightly open space. But to be honest, she's more annoying than dangerous, let alone scary. She's as smart as a broken shoe, and her favorite activity is to shrug her shoulders and say something like, "Oh well, maybe next time," and walk away.
Rip your guts out! Come here, you worm!
In short, I would describe her as a minor, almost invisible inconvenience that will most likely make you roll your eyes and think, "Oh god, not again."
We'll meet again, assassino.
And don't worry, I'm not DSP, I played the whole thing, so I can honestly tell you that those aren't the only enemy you will encounter. For example, in this cellar just before the end of the first chapter.
Za prvně nevím, co to je, a za druhé mě to uráží.
In fact, each chapter will bring at least one new enemy, but the most disgusting and cunning one I encountered throughout the game were mines. Because I never encountered anything more stupid. Thank God for Dolores, who just keeps bothering me. She's 1,000 times less dangerous than that crab with spikes. And keep in mind that they introduced them to me in a flashback, and I particularly didn't pay any attention to it because, lol, what was the point of that? Ha ha ha.
Tell you something, I'm not. So why don't you do us all a favor?
You'll need more than that.
My biggest criticism would probably be directed at the rather large console-like nature and how forced the animation sometimes is. I can't jump off the ladders, I have to climb down rung by rung. I slowly squeeze through the narrow gap between the boards, slowly crawl under an obstacle across the road, slowly hop over a cliff, zoom in to remove the lock from the door. Sure, hidden loading, but when you see the same animation for the millionth time, luckily I don't have to press E for all of that. Tady nelze jít, tady se nedostaneš, skočíš dolů jenom tady, skrčit se nemůžeš, skákat jenom když ti dovolíme, hlavně všude mačkej E. The author saved that for opening gates, moving cabinets or turning shafts. There was perhaps too much of it, especially in the prologue. And when the animation doesn't catch on, the player doesn't either, like me here. During my, rather unsuccessful attempt to achieve the achievement of killing 2 enemies with 1 bullet, I encountered, I admit first, serious bug. My weapon stopped firing and in quick succession switching between them also became blocked. Fortunately, a ladder in short distance behind me solved the problem. Unfortunately, I couldn't save this notebook, it just froze on me and that was that. Okay, I was back in 10 minutes because I knew exactly where to go and what to do, but don't tell me that wouldn't annoy you, especially when the save point was just 1 room away. Generally speaking, the whole 3rd chapter didn't particularly impress me. I didn't enjoy the first multi-level puzzle at all. The mini-boss did this. And the boat I often traveled on couldn't have been any slower. I won't spoil the last chapter, I just want to say to those of you who have already played or seen it that I originally thought that the harpoon had an infinite number of bullets, until I realized how it actually was. And I started to make these crazy stunts. Given the development of the story, I was surprised that I didn't get to choose how it would end. There is one unexpected twist, by which I mean that I expected a different twist than I got, but you'll have to find out for yourself what I'm talking about.
You're not strong enough.
No, I am not.
I give it a 7. It's not a bad game, on the contrary, I think the developers have laid a foundation for an interesting series, but it's missing something to get a higher score. Whenever it's more complex combat system, a more meaningful Dolores, richer use of the blood mechanics or more useful special abilities. And the comparison with BioShock, after playing it I would say it's really only the similar graphic style, as in the rest of the parameters, Crisol is nowhere near as complex as work of Ken Levine's team. But that's not a bad thing, Vermila Studios also have a lot of water in their game, but they mainly relied on their own ideas and Spanish folklore, not on a wealthy dreamer.